Today's sewing tutorial does not even require a sewing machine. Yeah, that's right, you heard me. Today we're talking about English paper piecing. I just finished my latest English paper piecing quilt, and I noticed in the comments I got a lot of questions just about English paper piecing in general. Where does the paper go? How does it work? What sort of stitches are you doing to get all those together? Do you just treat it like a quilt once you get everything sewn? A million questions. So today we're going to do a teeny tiny project that's going to give you all of the information that you could possibly need about English paper piecing, but in a little teeny tiny form. Okay, let's get into it. English paper piecing is a way of quilting that does not involve your sewing machine unless you want it to, but it's technically meant to be hand sewn. And the way that works is that you use a certain shape of paper template. This could be a hexagon, a diamond, it could be a plethora of shapes. The most simple to start with is the hexagon if you've never done this before. This is technically a 3/4 inch hexagon paper piece. And the way that hexagons are measured in English paper piecing is across one of their flat edges. You can see that's 3/4 of an inch. So this is a 3/4 inch hexie. They come in a million different sizes. This one's specifically tiny because I'm working on a new project that requires some teeny tiny pieces. But you don't have to start with this. You can use a 2-inch hexagon, which will be much bigger and your project will go much faster. The way this works is you're going to take a piece of fabric that's a little larger than your paper template. You're going to lay the template on there and then you're going to fasten it somehow. Now there's a couple different schools of thought on this, none of which are wrong. Some people like to fold their edges in and make it completely thread basted. So they'll take a piece of thread and once they get everything folded in, they'll do just a quick stitch around every place where the fabrics intersect. And that's great. The bonus to that way of doing it is that it's easier to remove the papers, but it takes longer. I personally like to glue baste, which means you're just taking a glue stick, you're going to glue around that little template, and then you're going to fold all those edges in and make them all stick. And then it'll look like this. And it's just stuck. Now, the papers are just a teeny bit harder to remove, but not impossible. And I personally like this a lot better because it just takes way less time. You do whatever you want. It's your world. So it's not magic. You're just taking tiny pieces of fabric and a tiny piece of a template, and you're convincing the fabric to behave.
It's not magic, it's technology.
Once those pieces are all basted, which I have this lovely little storage container. This is actually meant to hold tea bags. I got it at Marshall's. So if you're looking for a place to store all of your hexagons or whatever shape you're doing, this is a good option. I can keep them color coded and organized in here. And once you have all of those figured out and glue basted, you're then going to start attaching the pieces together, which means you're going to take one and then another, pretty sides touching along one of the edges. And you're going to do just a very simple, you can do a whip stitch or you can do a flat back stitch, which is a little bit harder and I don't personally love it. I don't care if my threads show a little bit in my project. You can see here in my seams that my threads are visible. This does not bother me. And actually, I feel like it shows that I did it by hand a little bit more. This is not a problem for me, but if it's something that's going to bother you, you can learn the flat back stitching method, which will hide those threads in your seams. And then once you get everything sewn together, all these pieces, so I started with this little like star here, then I added my hexagons. The question that I get the most is, what do you do with the papers?
What happened to the papers?
The papers come out. The papers come out once they are landlocked by other pieces. So like if I had all of this attached around this hexagon, then I could take that paper out. And if you're doing a larger project like a quilt top, it would be helpful probably to do that as you go. First of all, you can reuse the papers, but second of all, it helps it give it some flexibility for storage if you're wanting to throw it in a bag and take it with you. Okay. Once you get all those pieces sewn together into a quilt top, you just finish it however you want. You can hand sew it, you could machine sew it. You're going to make your quilt sandwich just like normal. And that's literally English paper piecing in a nutshell, very quick nutshell. So let's do an actual teeny tiny project today that I think you're going to freak out about because it's so easy and it's so stylish and it's a little bit different than what we're used to sewing. Okay. Before we start putting all those tiny pieces together, I want to say a big thank you to Ultima Replenisher for sponsoring this video. One thing I love about English paper piecing is that it's my slow sewing project. It's what I grab when I finally sit down for the day, the kids are all tucked into bed, and I want to do something for me. I just want to turn my brain off, stitch, and relax. And that's also my favorite time to grab something fun to sip on. Y'all know I love a little fancy treat. Lately, I've been reaching for Ultima Replenisher. It's an electrolyte drink mix that you add right to your water, and it makes staying hydrated just a little bit more fun. They have a ton of flavors. Lately, I've been really into the pina colada flavor. I also love that I can keep these packets with me wherever I am in the house. I often throw them into my sewing bag as well because I just don't always remember that I need hydration, but if it's right there in front of me, it makes it super easy. I got the Ultima cup with it, and all I do is put water and a bunch of ice in there. Then I throw in my packet, give it a good shake, and then drink. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It tastes just like a pina colada. I don't like salty tasting, like thick electrolyte drinks. This is nothing like that. It tastes so good. And let's be honest, I'm more likely to drink my water intake for the day if it's a little bit fancy, just like this. Ultima is made with 6 electrolytes plus vitamin C and zinc. It has 0 sugar, 0 calories, and no artificial sweeteners. So it's just a super easy thing to add into my daily routine to stay hydrated. Head to the link in my description below to stay hydrated with Ultima Replenisher. Thank you so much again to Ultima for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to our teeny tiny, super fancy, adorable sewing project. Gotta have a few more sips of this before I do. So what we're going to be doing today is a tiny hexagon flower, and I've picked out my favorite colors to put on the petals here, and you can see you're going to need 6 of your petals and then 1 centerpiece. And we are going to attach it to a baseball cap, because how cute is that going to look, right? And it's a quick and simple project, very cheap. You can get one of these on any website for very cheap. I think I paid $3 for this at a local store. And we're going to attach it to the hat. So we are working through this in real time. You're going to need some thread. I like to use 50 weight thread. You can use whatever you want. You're going to need a needle. This is my little English paper piecing. This is just junk. Here are a few things that I love for English paper piecing. You can use whatever color you feel like goes with the project. If you want to use maybe I'll use hot pink today. Why not? Now, if you're like me, you'll end up with a ton of stuff that you don't actually need. But bare minimum, what you're going to need to put this together is a spool of thread. I'm going to use this hot pink today. And a clip to help hold your pieces together. A pair of scissors and a tiny needle that is very sharp. You want something that is pretty small. Let me see what I've got in my thing here. And I don't even have these I don't know the sizes, but it's a pretty small needle. And you're going to load your thread on. Use about maybe, 20 inches of thread at a time. That way it won't get tangled up. I think a lot of people recommend 18 inches. You're not going to double up your thread. You're just going to single it up. And then the way that I tie my knots is I lay this on my finger just like this. And then I'm holding it at the bottom. I'm going to wrap it around like 5 times. And then I pinch that section and just hold on to it and pull it all the way down. And it makes a cute little knot. The other thing I like to wear is this little thimble. It's like a leather thimble it looks so dumb, but it actually really does help the process. So here's how we're going to sew this together. I'm going to take my middle piece and one of my petals. I'm going to match those up right here along one of the short edges. And I am just grabbing at 2 to 3 threads of my fabric. You're not trying to go through the paper. You can feel it when you do. It's going to be extra hard to push through. And you want those stitches pretty close together. We don't want anything falling apart on our beautiful hexy flower. And you're just going to whip stitch your way down to the end here. English paper piecing is very repetitive, and that's why I love it. Okay, look at that. You've attached your first 2 pieces. Now we're going to add on our next flower piece. So I am all the way down here, which is fine. I'm going to lay this one in and then fold it down, and we're just going to sew up to the edge. I'm not cutting my thread or breaking my line of stitches. I'm trying to keep this as one threaded as possible, because the more breaks you make in your thread, it's not that it's a problem, but that's more breaks in the line that could potentially come unraveled over time. So as much as I can, I'm going to keep this as fluid onto one thread as possible. Work your way to the top. Okay, look at that. Now you've got a little triangle sort of thing. And I am just going to come all the way back down here. I'm going to fold it the opposite direction now. I'm not worried about this thread being kind of long and not really like attached to anything. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to pull it super tight, but I'm also not going to worry about it. This thimble is kind of hindering me. I don't have my usual thimble here. I don't know what I did with it. You probably will want something on the finger that you do push your needle through though, because over time that will hurt the pad of your finger on the skin. Okay, so we're going to keep sewing down here. I love this hobby because it's super portable. Like you could take this on an airplane or in the car if you don't get car sick.
I think I'm getting car sick.
All right, we've reached the end now. Open up your flower. See that little thread, it makes no difference. It's not going to hinder the way that it flexes or anything. Okay, and now we're just going to repeat that again. So I'm all the way down at the bottom in the middle here. So I'm going to fold this down, put my thread over here, and just keep working your way around the flower. Okay, this is not hard, you guys. This is just simple stitching 101. And if you don't have a machine yet, I see a lot of you post like, hey, I'd love to get into sewing, but I don't have the money for a machine right now. This does not cost you very much to get started with whatsoever. A lot of this stuff you can get, from probably like a buy, sell, trade page for free even, or at your local Goodwill, the thrift store, I don't know, look around. And even at regular stores, these little items are usually very, very cost effective, not expensive at all. Okay, so we're going to keep working our way around the flower. I'm going to come down to this end. So you're bending it as you go, bending those papers. And remember, you're trying to not hit the paper. You want to try and just go through those top little tiny threads right there. And eventually, once we work our way around, we'll have the cutest little hexagon flower. That's why this project is a perfect intro to English paper piecing, because you can get this done in just probably an hour and you'll feel like you accomplished something, but you also learned something, but on a small scale. I think a lot of times we think that we have to jump in with these big grand projects right off the bat, but fundamentals are the building blocks of fun, people. So we have to learn how to walk before we can start running. And this is the perfect way to do that. Also, quick tip about the papers. You can order these from like Amazon, or you could order them from one of my favorite companies, which is Paper Pieces. They have everything you could possibly need to start English paper piecing. It's a great company. They have everything on their website. But the other thing you can do is if you want to save a little cash, you could get a die cut on I don't know, most craft stores have them in the shape of a hexagon in whatever size you're doing. And it's one of those machines, little like, I don't know, it looks like a hole punch, but in the shape of a hexagon or whatever you're doing. And you can punch your own papers out. And let me give you just the best little hint that is my favorite thing to tell people. You know, all that junk mail that you try and not get, and you keep telling people not to send you, but keep sending you anyway? It's usually on pretty nice cardstock, you guys. Like if you actually feel it, it's heavy paper. I cut my templates out of junk mail all the time. It's a great way to use up that junk mail without just throwing it in the trash or the recycling bin, and you're putting it to good use. And it's very helpful because it is durable and it's usually like kind of glossy, which with glue basting is helpful because it releases the paper a little bit easier. So that is just a quick tip for you to make it even cheaper. So no excuses. We can figure this one out together, y'all. And it's going to be so stinking cute on this hat. Like, oh my goodness. I'm so excited about this. If you didn't know, pink and orange are my favorite colors. All right, we're ready to put that last one in there. He's a cutie. And once you get more comfortable with it, you can start playing around with like your patterns and your color schemes. But for right now, I mean, this is not much fabric, y'all. I think, I don't know, maybe like a 5 by 5 inch square at the most. So any sort of scrap can be used for English paper piecing. That is for sure. We're just going to stitch this one up and then I'm going to show you how to remove the papers and what to do next. You are doing an awesome job. Hang in there with me. This is a very good skill to learn, but it takes patience. And, I'll be honest, English paper piecing is not for everyone. Some people may look at this and be like, that looks like my actual definition of misery, just because it's so tedious and tiny and time consuming. And you know what? that's okay. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to try and sew something that they don't want to. Some people are bag makers only. Some people are quilters only. Some people only sew garments. Whatever you decide to sew, it's fine. Don't feel pressure to be something that you're not. And if you even just decide to start this and you're like, well, this was not for me, at least you only spent, maybe an hour of your time. And then you know that this is not something that you love, but you'll still have something cute when you're done. So please, anybody who follows me, please don't feel like I'm telling you you have to try any of this stuff. I just want to give you options. I personally, there's not much that I don't like to sew just because I'm literally obsessed with this hobby. But that's okay. You don't have to be like me. You can pick one thing and just be really happy about doing that. Okay, we're finishing up this little line and I'm looking at I haven't stopped filming from when I started this video and I'm only at 21 minutes and I don't know, I would say about 5 or 6 minutes of that was just me talking about English paper piecing. So you can see that this does not take long at all. Now on this last little bit right here, you can see I've left a little loop sticking up. And what I'm going to do is go through that loop 2 times and pull it tight, and that's going to knot my piece. Oh, look how sweet this is. Oh my gosh. Okay, now Chelsea, get a hold of yourself and your emotions. We're going to put our needle just over here for now, safely. And this is the part that I think everybody gets really confused about. So let's talk about it. We are not going to stick this on our hat with the papers still attached. No, we're not doing that. That's not the plan. We're taking the papers out. Now, this one in the middle is for sure landlocked. And that's what I mean when I say landlocked. It's completely surrounded. So I'm going to open up that fabric. And these are more sturdy than you think they are. So don't be nervous about ripping your stitches out. And I'm going to pull that piece of paper out. So see how easy that was? Even though you used glue, we used, a glue stick. That's another question I get a lot is is it hard to take the papers out? No, it's not at all. And this paper is still in great condition. I can use this again for a future piece, which is awesome. Another way of making it very, very cheap. Now, these are not technically landlocked, but you are going to encounter this on your project. So let's talk through it. Let's pretend this was your edge of your quilt. You're not going to have fabric there. Is it okay to pull these pieces out? 100% yes. The way that we're going to make sure that they behave is, first of all, they've been wrapped in this, paper. So they're already trying to bend down to whatever the form was. But one quick trick you could do is take your glue stick again and put just a little tiny dab of glue right there and fold it down along the lines that it's already trying to be folded on. And look at that. And that'll dry. You can see through it right now, but it dries clear. So let's continue around our hexy flower. The cutest little hexy flower there ever was. I can't wait to wear this hat. And and you could do this on anything, y'all. It doesn't have to go on a hat. You could put it on a bag. It's technically not sewing machine applique, but you're still sort of appliquing it on. You're going to attach it once the piece is already kind of formed. So that's also good practice. One thing you can do here to just get your line crisp is grab those scissors and sort of just make sure you're folding it where it was already creased. Yes, that's very good. All right, let's pull the rest of these out. Okay, you little cuties. This is what we've got. She's cute. All right, now we're actually still going to use that glue stick a couple more minutes here, and we're going to use it to just sort of baste it to our hat where we want it to stay. Now, let's lay this on here and sort of get an idea of placement. That's cute. That's going to be real cute. Now, my butterfly's upside down, so let me figure that out. Figure out how high up we want it. What I'm going to do is hold this with my thumb, and I'm going to just put a little glue right here. It doesn't have to be everywhere, just enough to sort of tack it down for a few seconds till we sew it. Make sure it's even. That's cute. Make sure you like your placement. Oh, that's adorable. All right, now it's time to sew it on. If you hear my son talking in the background, we are all home for summer and I'm doing the best I can. So just ignore him. Or listen to him. Who knows what he's talking? He always tells me interesting things. This morning he asked me if I knew how to make goulash. I was like, you know what? I don't. So if anybody has a good goulash recipe, my son would really appreciate it. He's 5. So I don't even know how he knows what goulash is. All right, we're going to do our knot again, just like we did before. Now, sewing through a hat can be a little bit tricky. So just take your time and be nice to yourself. All I'm going to do here, fold my edges down. This little guy wants to flip up. I'm going to start with him. He's a troublemaker. I'm going to come up right along the edge of my hexie, and I'm going to go back down maybe 1/8 of an inch away, and then come back up just 1/8 of an inch away from that last stitch. Pull it tight. Do these stitches need to look perfect? They sure don't. They sure don't. Do you know why? Because we're not perfect. That just makes it even cuter because it's got your personality shining through, which might be, you know, funny looking stitches. Who knows? I'm going to cross over onto my next hexie. Keep everything nice and flat as you go. You could pin this too, like in the petals. If you wanted to put some pins in to hold it in place, totally could. I just tend to use a glue stick for whatever I possibly can because I find them very helpful. I buy them in bulk. I also get really excited after school starts and like the stores start putting all their purchased school supplies on clearance. It's my time to shine, girl. I go and clean up at Walmart. 10-cent notebooks. Yeah. All right, you can see what I'm doing here. This is the stitch pattern. We're going to follow it along the outside of the hat. I am already so excited about this. And you know what else I'm excited about is to see what you guys create with this, like what colors you're going to use, what color hat you're going to choose. I get so pumped about your projects. And when you send me pictures, you'll have no idea how much that means to me. I absolutely am your biggest fan. I am cheering you on and so proud of everyone who tries something new and different. It might scare them a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, y'all, to be absolutely magnificent. Just like us. No, baby, I'm still working. Can you go in and close the door? I'll be done in about 10 minutes and I will make you lunch right after I'm finished. I know, Mama's got to do her work and then we'll eat. All my children are home, so I'm doing my best. And I promise I feed my children. All right, we've made it all the way around. I'm putting in my last stitch right here. Look how nice and flat that is laying. Beautiful. Now, just go in here and we'll tie a knot right there. Probably do a couple of them just to make everything nice and secure. Y'all, that's it. That's the whole project. Now, if you want to, you could go around more of the flower. Like you could go around every petal. You could go around the center. That would be fine. For today, right now, what I'm showing you, this is enough. So if you've done this and you're like, I feel like this is plenty, it is. I'm also toying with the idea of adding just like one little one. I don't know if I have a cute one that has, I don't know, like a statement piece on it or so. I had one that was like, wouldn't this be cute? Just like one in the back there. I don't know. Anyway, okay, let's look and see how this looks on. Okay, here's our hat and here's how it looks on our head. Oh, stop it. I love this so much. It's so cute. How sweet is that? I'm going to wear this the rest of the day. Y'all, this was not hard. This was a very beginner-friendly and good introduction into English paper piecing. If you've been toying with the idea of trying it, but you don't want to get into a huge to-do about it, just make one of these first and see how you feel. If nothing else, you'll get a really cute hat out of it. Oh my gosh, yes. I adore this. Okay, are you guys going to make one of these? I'm so glad that you joined me today. I hope this was helpful and answered some of your English paper piecing questions. And again, remember, it doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to have a sewing machine to do beautiful things. You can make beautiful things with your hands and some needles and thread, y'all. I'm Chelsea with She Sew Seams. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I will see you next time.